How we doing? Yesterday, Philip Bloom released a video all about the Fuji XT4 and its autofocus capabilities with a slew of different lenses. However, I noticed that there were no tests of EF lenses, and as you guys know if you watch my channel, I've been using the Fuji XT4 with the Fringer adapter and my Sigma 18-35 a lot. And I've been getting pretty great results with this setup. Right now I have the tracking, sensitivity, and the AF speed set both to 0. And it's doing a pretty good job. I've been testing it like crazy. I got this little guy in the mail just a couple days ago. This is the Viltrox EF to FX2 0.71 focal reducer. I'm gonna go to Lens Rentals here in Nashville and pick up the 16-35 2.8. We're gonna do some tests. Philip had a great point in his video when he said that really the best way to get good results with the XT4 and autofocus is to actually spend time with each of your lenses and figure out what the best autofocus settings are for each lens. Sounds like a lot of work, but if you want to get super good results and if you're going to use it in a professional setting, it's necessary.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You too.
So this is probably a terrible idea, but this is how I have my switch pod set up for this test, because I needed to get my camera more eye level so I can do the classic back and forth walking maneuver. So this is the Canon 16-35 f2.8. I have an 8th Pro Mist on because I can, and the 6 to 9 stop Polar Pro variable ND filter on a very dangerous switch pod setup. The autofocus settings are 0 for sensitivity and 0 for speed. It seems like it's being jumpy as heck. Oh, maybe it's the mask. I'm gonna take this off. There's nobody super close to me. You know, when it jumps to the background, that's where you want it to be smooth. So now I have the settings as absolutely slow as they can be. So the sensitivity is +4 and the speed is -5. Just to see if it's smoother. How's that looking? Still doing the jumps. Now, just for kicks and giggles, this is the fastest settings possible, so the sensitivity and speed are super fast right now. Is it smoother? It's still kind of jumpy, but let's zoom in a little bit, see if that changes anything. It really isn't horrible. I don't know how the tracking is when I go back. When you completely jump out of frame, that seemed like it did a pretty good job, but I'll have to look at it later. This is tracking sensitivity +2, AF speed at 0. So it's a little bit more evened out. Obviously, eye detect is on. We're shooting an F-log at f2.8. Pretty smooth. Sensitivity 3, speed -2, -2. I agree with Philip, and the way they have the settings labeled is super goofy. It feels a little bit non-intuitive. Let's see how this looks. I feel like the tracking is doing a pretty good job. It's just when you jump out of frame. So now we have the Viltrox 0.71 speed booster focal reducer on, and I'm able to shoot at f2, which I actually kind of need to right now because my ND filter is really strong even at the minimum setting. So these are the same settings as before. Let's see how this does. This is both settings at 0. Hunting a little bit. Sensitivity +2, speed +3. Oh, we're getting a little bit brighter now. Uh-oh. Good thing we can color grade on the fly. This is actually the vlog setup I've been very curious about, because my 18-35 just isn't quite wide enough to look good for vlogging. It kind of makes it too close to my face. Do a squat. Come back up. Squat. Up. Close. Hi. So this is, oh wait, what is this? So this is sensitivity +1, AF speed -2, -2. Because I want it to kind of naturally, smoothly go into the background and then pick up on my face. I just don't want it to look super digital, robotic. Both settings at +1. I'm not even gonna remember which settings are good. I can manage this. So this is just as fast as it goes. I feel like it's not ultra smooth, but I don't know if you can get that with these adapters. they're both like kind of decent if you want to use these chunky lenses. So I've had some people reach out and ask about the noise with these lenses and if it's an issue or how to deal with that. And the thing that I keep coming back to is when you're vlogging like this, you're not really doing the back and forth thing. That's what causes the lens to make noise. Do you hear that? When you're vlogging, you kind of just set it and try to keep the camera in the same spot while you're talking, and then you move on. The only time it's really adjusting is if you do like the Casey Neistat style thing where you set the camera down, aim it where you want to be, and then you kind of walk through the frame. But if you're far enough away, the lens isn't working that hard because the depth of field isn't as dramatic at a far distance. So in my opinion, I really do think you can get acceptable results with either of these setups. Like I said earlier, I do think the 18-35 with the Fringer adapter just isn't amazing for vlogging, but a lot of you out there aren't vlogging. You're doing client stuff or interviews, and this lens is so good for any of that stuff. So I would say that this is definitely an acceptable scenario, using this lens on the XT4. This is not for that. I have used the Fringer and 18-35 setup on countless YouTube videos for my talking head stuff. I love that lens for that. I've also used it on some professional interviews, that kind of thing. And honestly, at the end of the day, if you're using an external audio source of any kind, you are not gonna pick up the noise from the lens. And you'll only really hear it if you have an onboard shotgun like this. But even then, if you're not moving around like crazy like this, the lens isn't gonna be making that much noise. Does it look like there's a weird flare in the middle of the frame from the Viltrox? Oh, yeah. This is an interesting flare. I just noticed another thing about the Viltrox setup is that you can't use IBIS on the XT4. It's just grayed out in the menus. I hope it's just a firmware like issue that one of them or both of them can fix together, but that's extremely irritating. Looking at Viltrox's website, and there is a firmware update for the FX1 and FX2. Also says that the IBIS of the XH1 and XT4 is not yet effective on a few lenses. I'm gonna upgrade the firmware and see if it works. Damn it. Good autofocus though. I'll lose my mind if this doesn't work. It's still not showing up. Even when I freaking plug it in, there's nothing. I have been digging through my clear bag of cables. I found another one. Great, it doesn't fit. Alright, I just read a Reddit thread that said this Viltrox is very particular with USB cables, so my roommate here, my beautiful autofocused roommate, let me borrow his. It worked on my PC. Oh. This cable. Thanks, brother. Have a great one. Well, that was a absolute hassle and a half. I could not get the Viltrox to appropriately update its firmware, and I've seen a couple things online saying that the new firmware still doesn't fix the IBIS problem in the XT4 anyway. Hopefully they'll get a fix to us soon. I'm pretty bummed because I'm taking this on a trip tomorrow, actually, to Florida. I'm gonna make a vlog with this setup. I was really excited. Stupid floppy sound side door on the XT4 is annoying the shit out of me. So we're gonna cut it off. I don't want that. Also, here's a really quick field of view test. So this is the 16-35. My arm is extended. We're at 16 millimeters. This is the Fringer. And here's the Viltrox. So it is much more wide. It's a 1.1 crop, so it's like almost identical to full frame field of view. There's that weird light leak thing. You guys seeing that weird flare? Ugh. There are definitely way more issues with the Viltrox just out of the box. The firmware needs a lot of work. Let me know if there's a better vlogging lens option. I really don't want to get into Fuji lenses. I like a little bit bigger lenses, but I mean, if that's what it takes, it's not that big of a deal. So, Philip, if you're still watching, thank you, brother. Have a good one. Hi, I'm listening to music very loudly, and I'd like to shout out 2 of my top tier patrons, people who support me every single month with at least $9, and it means so much to me. So shout out to Nate Christian and Zach Thayer. Thanks, homie boys. Love y'all, bye.